Box jellyfish. This creature is widely considered the most dangerous jellyfish in the ocean, found mostly in the warm coastal waters of northern Australia and parts of Southeast Asia. It carries venom strong enough to affect the human heart within minutes of contact. Its body is shaped like a cube, which is how it earned its name, and from each corner trails a cluster of long, thin tentacles lined with thousands of microscopic stinging cells called nematocysts. When those tentacles brush against skin, they release toxins that attack nerve and muscle tissue almost instantly, and in severe cases, the heart can stop before the victim even reaches shore. Swimmers who encounter one often describe the pain as unlike anything else in nature, a burning sensation that spreads rapidly across the skin. What makes this species especially concerning is its eyesight. Unlike most jellyfish, box jellyfish have clusters of eyes arranged around their bell, allowing them to actively navigate, detect light, and avoid obstacles rather than simply drifting with the current like simpler species. Researchers have spent years trying to understand how a creature without a centralized brain can process visual information so effectively, and the answer still isn't fully settled. Coastal towns in northern Queensland have responded by installing vinegar stations along popular beaches, since vinegar is one of the few substances known to neutralize the stinging cells before they release more venom into the skin. Irukandji jellyfish. Tiny in size but enormous in reputation, this jellyfish is barely larger than a fingernail, yet it produces one of the most painful stings known to science. It lives along the northern coast of Australia, often in the same waters where swimmers least expect danger because of how small and nearly transparent its body is. The sting itself may seem mild at first, almost unnoticeable, but within 20 minutes it can trigger a condition known as Irukandji syndrome, marked by severe muscle cramps, vomiting, sweating, and a sense of impending doom that many victims describe in remarkably similar terms. Doctors in the region have treated cases for decades, yet the exact composition of the toxin remains difficult to study, partly because the animal is so small and fragile that specimens often fall apart before they can be examined closely. Its size is part of what makes it dangerous, since it can sting a person without ever being seen in the water, leaving only a faint mark that doesn't reveal the seriousness of what's coming. Hospitals near affected coastlines keep anti-venom protocols on standby during peak season, and lifeguards are trained to recognize the early symptoms quickly, since the syndrome can escalate from mild discomfort to a medical emergency in a short window of time. Portuguese man-o'-war. Despite its jellyfish-like appearance, this creature is technically not a single animal but a colony of specialized organisms working together, each one performing a different task to keep the whole structure alive. It floats on the surface of warm ocean waters around the world, recognizable by its translucent balloon-like float that can rise above the waterline like a small sail catching the wind. Beneath the surface trail long tentacles that can stretch many meters down into the water, armed with stinging cells capable of delivering a painful and sometimes dangerous sting even after the creature has washed ashore and appears completely lifeless. Beachgoers have learned to be cautious of these animals long after storms push them onto the sand, since the tentacles can remain potent for hours or even days after detaching from the main body. While fatalities are rare, the pain can be intense enough to cause shock, elevated heart rate, or breathing difficulty, and in people with allergic sensitivities, the consequences can escalate quickly without warning. Marine biologists have studied this species for centuries, partly because its colonial structure challenges the simple idea of what counts as a single organism in the first place. Lion's mane jellyfish. Among the largest jellyfish species in the world, this animal is named for the long flowing tentacles that resemble a lion's mane drifting beneath its bell. It thrives in cold and temperate waters, particularly across the northern Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, where its size can become genuinely staggering, with tentacles in some recorded specimens stretching longer than a blue whale from end to end. Its sting is not usually lethal to humans, but the sheer length and density of its tentacles mean a single encounter can deliver dozens or even hundreds of stings at once, often before the swimmer realizes what has happened. Fishermen and divers in colder regions have long respected this species, since its size makes it difficult to avoid once spotted nearby, and currents can push its trailing tentacles far beyond where the main body appears to be. The pain it causes can linger for hours, leaving red welts that trace the exact path the tentacles took across the skin. Older accounts from sailors describe encounters with the species as far back as the 19th century, when naturalists first began documenting its enormous size and unusual appearance in detailed sketches and journals. Sea wasp. Often confused with other box jellyfish species, the sea wasp is sometimes used as another name for the most venomous member of that family, though in certain regions it refers to a closely related species with similarly potent venom. It inhabits the coastal waters of the Indo-Pacific, drifting close to shorelines where unsuspecting swimmers might pass directly through its nearly invisible tentacles without ever seeing them coming. Its venom works quickly on the cardiovascular and nervous systems, which explains why medical responders in affected areas are trained to act within moments of a reported sting rather than waiting to assess severity first. Local communities near these waters have developed long-standing safety practices, including seasonal swimming nets, lifeguard patrols, and public warning signs, simply because the threat returns with predictable regularity each year as ocean temperatures shift. Even brief contact with its tentacles can leave lasting scars, a visible and permanent reminder of how powerful its sting truly is. Over the years, these recurring encounters have shaped how entire coastal economies operate, with tourism boards adjusting swimming seasons and safety messaging around the times when this species is most active offshore. Mauve stinger. Smaller than many of its more famous relatives, the mauve stinger makes up for its size with sheer numbers, often appearing in massive swarms that can stretch for kilometers along the coastline. It's found throughout the Mediterranean and in warm waters across the Atlantic and Pacific, where its pinkish glowing body makes it strangely beautiful to look at despite the discomfort it can cause. Its sting isn't typically dangerous to humans, but it produces a sharp, burning sensation that can leave welts lasting several days, and because the swarms are so large, beachgoers sometimes find themselves stung dozens of times in a single afternoon. What sets this species apart is its bioluminescence, a soft blue glow it produces when disturbed at night, which made it a subject of fascination among sailors long before scientists understood the chemistry behind it. In recent decades, swarms have grown larger and more frequent near popular tourist beaches, a shift that some researchers connect to warming sea temperatures and changes in the populations of fish that would normally feed on them. Coastal authorities in parts of southern Europe now track these swarms using aerial surveys, posting warnings well before the jellyfish reach the shore. Flower hat jelly, named for the way its tentacles curl and coil like petals around its translucent bell, this species looks almost ornamental, which makes its sting somewhat surprising to anyone unfamiliar with it. It's found mainly in the coastal waters off Japan, Argentina, and parts of Brazil, often resting near rocky shorelines and in shallow bays where divers are more likely to encounter it up close. Its sting can cause intense pain and swelling that lasts for days, occasionally accompanied by symptoms resembling a mild allergic reaction. Photographers and divers have long been drawn to this species because of its vivid coloring, with tentacles that shift between orange, pink, and purple, depending on the light and the angle of the water. Unlike many other dangerous jellyfish, the flower hat jelly tends to stay relatively still, anchoring itself near the seafloor rather than drifting freely, which means most stings happen when someone reaches towards it without realizing what it is. Marine parks in some of these regions have added signage specifically warning visitors about this species, since its appearance often invites curiosity rather than caution.